Hi, and welcome to another episode of Kasper On BI. I'm pretty excited about today's guest. Today we're going to talk to Ben de Jong, not de Jonge, which is for some people a little bit confusing. Almost same last name, not completely. He's going to talk to us about embracing self-service BI. Interestingly enough, Ben works at a big bank in the Netherlands, and I'm really excited to hear from him how they have set up self-service BI within that organization. We're going to talk about all kinds of things: governance, how do you help people, how do you trust people, where does the data come from, all the big questions that always get asked when we start talking about self-service BI, and especially in a highly governed environment like a bank. So I'm really looking forward. So let's go to the episode. Hi, Ben. I'm really excited to have you here on Kasper On BI podcast. Excited to see you here. Can you maybe give a little bit of an introduction, who you are, what you do?
Where I came from?
Also, where you came from?
Yeah, because that's perhaps an interesting story. Let me start with apologies up front, because of course I speak a little bit English, but it could be that some sentences could be a little bit Dutch. So my Danglish is, well, excuse me, I apologize for my Danglish. So if you hear a strange sentence in English, probably because I translated from Dutch to English and it's not a great sentence grammarly accepted in English. So yes, my name is Ben de Jong. I'm almost 56 next month. I live in a little town upwards Amsterdam, and I'm working with ABN AMRO. ABN AMRO is a bank in the Netherlands, one of the top 3 banks in the Netherlands. I worked there since 2000, and now I am what I call an enterprise advisor for data visualization and business intelligence. And of course, that's coming together in Power BI.
Yes.
And well, I think we go a little bit deeper on Power BI and those kind of things. What can I say more? I started working when I was 17 with KLM. I was a late operator. You know what it is?
No.
Oh, it's kind of machine that you overhaul aircraft engine parts. So it was really, mainly controlled machines in the old days. And then the CNC controlled machines were coming in, and I started programming those machines. And that was kind of the base of working in IT. So that's a long time ago, and going from real manual labor to roboticizing in the early days. But since 2000 within the bank, and all kind of functions within with the bank, because I came in with SAS programming on mainframe at that time, and then transformed within the organization, of course. And I work with TM1. You know TM1? Have you ever heard of TM1? It's IBM products with a little bit kind of an OLAP tube underneath Excel. And then worked with MicroStrategy, and now with Power BI.
So you were always into data, or that grew over time? Because it sounds really different, working with machine parts to, like I saw your presentations, highly visual and data visualization. That's very different, right?
Yeah. I mainly work between IT and the business because I don't think I'm a real business kind of guy, and also not a technical IT guy. I don't. Well, that's not my cup of tea. And in 2014, I saw the light for data visualization then, because I made always kind of reports and dashboards. And in 2014, I had a dashboard, and that's one thing I mainly said. We had a dashboard of 66 pages, and it was really enormous. And the management should look at it and then make decisions within 15 minutes. Now, that was not kind of good best practice. So then I came across Andy Kirk and Stephen Few, and they helped me see the light on data visualization, because mainly the book of Stephen Few showed me the numbers. He explained, I have it here also somewhere.
Yeah.
You might, and he explained how we look as a human and how we perceive stuff, and it helped me think on a completely different way on building visualizations or reports or dashboards, how do you call it? And that was mainly the big shift in my career. And I also enjoyed working with, so kind of a passion. I started my own company, and I do a podcast also on that field. So and all those kind of things, yeah, that is really changing. And I'm really interested in how we can make that better, because there's a lot of data or information coming at us every day, and also for management. So we see all those big pile of PDF printed PowerPoint slides. And
Yes.
I would like to help them to see in a glance what's going on. And if they want to do something more, they can dig in. But well, it's kind of a Ben Schneiderman's mantra. I don't know, it's overview and then zoom and filter and then details on demand. That is really my kind of approach that I would like to help people just see in a glance what's going on. If you want to look further in it, you can have all those things available. So that is really great. And then uh, in data visualization land, there are no exact rules, perhaps two small minor rules. And the 3D is of course one thing. This is really great, by the way. Power BI, it's not by default available 3D. I like it very much. And the other thing is the bar charts start at 0. It's also controlled by Power BI normally, so you have to do some job to if you want to adjust it.
Yeah.
But mainly you are free and there are no rules. There's no silver bullet for the perfect chart, or the perfect report. So it all depends on a lot of things, and well, that is really interesting to help people with their things they want to do and what they want to see, and if you can help them with a good visual. So,
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get back to that because I saw your presentation too on this topic. So, and how you help people in your organization. We'll definitely come back to this. So maybe we can also do a sidestep, because I mean we're definitely into this. I mean we're in this place right now as a working environment where we are starting to make the shift from traditional BI, no one has access to data, to now you have access to all the data. And especially, this is why I wanted to talk to you too, especially in highly governed environments like a bank, there are tensions between okay, we need to control everything, we need to lock everything down, to open things up, and this is not the same everywhere. So maybe you can share a little bit of the journey that you guys went through too, as an organization.
Yeah, well, we go a little bit back in 2015. We shifted from an IT managed company to DevOps, and that was mainly the start of letting loose the IT controlled development of all kind of things, and got the DevOps teams mainly closer to the business. But that was a good thing. And if you look for the BI world, we had, I mentioned MicroStrategy at that time, and it was highly IT managed. So if you want to do something, you need to have a budget to do something. And in I think 2017 or 18, we had some initiatives to discover the cloud things, and we got AWS and Azure. And on that Azure journey, people encountered Power BI as also Power BI as a BI tool, and they want to gain some insights on that journey that they were looking in on the Azure cloud. So then they came back to us. Oh, we discovered Power BI, and is that something for us within the bank? And we said, oh no. We have MicroStrategy. That's our main tool. So we were a little bit against it at that time, because that was not the route that we were following in it at that time within the bank.
Yeah.
But then the Azure stuff became more important, and we also we went to Office 365 within the bank, and a lot of more things on Microsoft. So Power BI popped up again, and then we started a benchmark with 4 tools, and then the outcome was that Power BI was more suitable for that at that time. And one of the big things is, of course, that people are more free in their development, so they can do more decentralized their development of the reports. So the shift from managed IT to how do I call it? Not controlled IT. People can do whatever they want.
We like to call it governed self-service BI.
Yeah, now, but in that time it wasn't
Oh
governed.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
No, because there was freedom all over. So people were really free to do whatever they want, and then yeah, of course that was not also what we would like to do. So and we started our data journey within the bank, and then within the bank we have a nice strategy, and we got three big topics to support all of this. So we have making fit for purpose data. Well, that's the first part, that you ensure all required data is available from a trusted golden source with the right quality, of course, because data quality is a big thing within the bank.
Yeah.
Um, and the next step is rapid access to authorized data. So you want to make the internal and external data rapidly accessible from one central place. We call it the data marketplace, and it's governed and traceable and secure. And the last thing is, of course, accelerate that data, make that nice data-driven decisions, empowering everyone to make autonomous and augmented data-driven decisions in a transparent manner. So those three steps we work on now, and then you see, well, it of course takes a lot of time to do it, but it's a big challenge,
Yeah.
and well, that's good. And every step, well, have his own things, and the last thing, accelerate data-driven decisions. We're at that part with Power BI.
Amazing. Yeah. So I must say that was quite probably revolutionary for a bank in 2015 to really change from IT driven to that DevOps. So how important is it to get like the right um, leadership sponsorship for a situation like this? Because it really was
Well,
top down pushed, I guess then.
yeah. It was a big change, a big program, but yeah, well, I think we needed that because we were doing for a long time always the same things, and the change is so enormous because the whole data platform should change because we have two data centers in Amstelveen, and everything was stored over there. And with the growth and with the coming of the more cloud strategies, yeah, we have to change. And of course, in the beginning, people say, "Oh, we have to run our applications and our data in the cloud." And you go, "Oh no, we cannot do it because the DNB, the Dutch National Bank, or the ECB, the European Central Bank, don't approve those kind of things." And that was, of course, yeah, a big step. But you see, it was coming everywhere. So also those regulators saw those things, so they also approved those kind of steps. But it should be secure, and we have well, I think we got a secure environment, and I think the ING and the Rabobank had the same issues and are following the same steps. Yeah,
That's true. Yeah. So
but it is great. It's great to see that it is working, and it has a lot of struggle, and you saw the growing pains from the beginning from the DevOps teams, but it took a while, and now you see that that's working, and even now it's constantly improving because now we had a little change in the team, so you see it constantly improving, and I don't see much of other teams because I'm in my own BI bubble a little bit. But if I see look at my team, what I'm working with, we have the BI enabling block, and if I see what we are doing, I think it's nice to see that we have a lot of freedom, responsibilities on our own, and we don't have that at that time because then every decision we should bring up to the management and ask them, and now we can do a lot of things ourselves, and this is for the good for our users and for the platform.
yeah. So okay, so let's go to that, to the business users. So it must be a challenge for them too, and especially people who've been around for a long time. They've been used to working one way, especially the business users. They're doing things in Excel, and so what do you do?
Yeah.
And I mean, you kind of talk about this in your session too, but what do you do to help them, to get them ready and teach them the roles and the responsibilities? It's like a center of excellence, right, that you have inside of the organization.
Yeah, well, with the BI enabling block, we facilitate Power BI. So we don't do consulting or something like that, like consulting like building reports or models and those kind of things. We just enable the platform. And when we started, we just put the platform there and everybody could use it.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the beginning, we saw, well, everybody was doing, yeah, trying to do their best, but they just went from the old way of working to the new way of working and don't change their way of working. And we saw that happening. So the performance of our environment was really bad at that time. So we help our users, like between quotes, as nice we have video, we help our users to make them more aware of those knowledge. And then we brought in the DA100 certificate, now called the PL300, by the way. And that's to make them aware that BI is a real job. And it's not just transform Excel to Power BI, but it's a real job that you need to do some ETL, some work on your data to prepare it. You need to know how to model it. That you cannot click two dimensions to each other. So, oh, well, it works. And you can create DAX formulas, of course, but you need to know what to do, because how bigger the DAX formulas, how more worse your performance will be. And of course, at the end, you create a report, and then it should be visual, not only attractive, but also functional.
Yeah.
And what we saw that a lot of people working the engineering part, I over exaggerate perhaps, but they dumped all the data in a report. Oh, the data is there, so you can work with it. But that is the part that I'm working on to help them. Well, don't dump it just in the report, but think about it. What is the story? What do you want to see, and how can you help the users in that journey to make decisions? In the end, should create value, because that is the thing that we use data for.
Yeah.
So that is what we do. And the DA100 helped a lot. And then all our business teams created COEs on their own. So every business unit has its own COE. So, for instance, and that will help a lot. And they also saw that BI is a job, and not just well, you do something, but you see that more engineers on data and modelers, and also designers were going to those teams to build better reports, but not only better all the way from performance to visuals and all the way. So now we see that going on. So the COEs are getting. First we had a central IT, and now you see more decentralized, and that's going well. Of course, the big thing that we struggle is, of course, the data. That not everybody gets his own silos of data, and everybody has his own silo, and it does communicate with each other, or we have the difference. We see at the end on top level, do we have the difference in the data? That is one concern. But that is why we work on rapid access to the authorized data. People are going to the marketplace and there get their data. And all you asked about the governance. In that part, the whole data governance is also arranged. We've got data owners, we've got data users, and they have a data sharing agreement if they want to use. So all those things are arranged in that part.
So let's go to that part. So you talked about the data marts and the data that they get access to. So how do they get access to this data? Because I think, first of all, I don't think I've heard anyone else doing decentralized center of excellences. It's a very interesting idea. I've not heard any other organization do it. Maybe there is, but I've not heard it. So it's quite interesting to see and to hear. So maybe one question on that. So what do you think is the benefit of doing it decentralized versus one COE?
Time to market. So they can really bring their own reports much faster in production than if you have a centralized COE. They know what they do, and because what I mentioned, the data sharing agreement that they have with the data owner, they are responsible also for their data, for their own data. So that's the good thing of our BI enabling block. They are not responsible for all those data. We are responsible for the connections, the enterprise gateways, the performance, in general. But we are not responsible for the data underneath, because the data sharing agreements regulate that, and also so they know what to do, and they know how to apply the rules of row level security and security in general on those kind of things. So the time to market and responsibility, they feel the responsibility. That is a really great thing. They feel really responsible for the reports that they share and that they make available for their users.
Yeah, that's great. And so okay, now let's go to the data. So where does the data come from? You talked about that before, like you have some gold data sets,
Yep.
and you talked about giving them access. So how does that work within your organization? Because oftentimes that is the hard part. Where do I get the right data? And you
Yeah.
mentioned the data market, so I'm really interested to hear more about that.
Yeah. So let's, for instance, say our HR department. I just make an example of that. HR department as the all kind of stuff of the illness or the sick leave of our company. Just an example that everybody could understand.
Yes.
But there's one application that register all those data. So we say, okay, that is the main part because every data is coming in there. So that is our golden source. So that golden source we pick up and we say, okay, who is responsible for that? So that is then the data owner. Then we transform the data in a raw format to our platform. So in kind of in between state. And that is, and then we put it there and make it accessible via our one-stop shop for the data. That is the data marketplace. So it's coming in a raw format to the platform. And at the other end, you got a kind of a marketplace. You can go to a website. We've got an internal website. You can search for those things, and you can search all kind of data elements. And you say, "Wow, I need to make a report for my department on sick leave." So you come to the data. I, as the data user, I want to make a Power BI report on it. And you come to the data owner and say, "Oh, I want to do this in my department. I'm working at department, let's say, communication." And they say, okay, that's good, but then you only get access to the communication data. So that's the thing that we arranged in that data sharing agreement. And I can pick it up there and make it available via my Power BI report. Of course, I need to do some things and perhaps combine it with some other data to make the report complete.
Mm-hmm.
But then, if, for instance, I want to make, let's say, some organizational structure, I have to go to another department who's available for that, and then combine it to the report. So I get then two data sharing agreements with two different suppliers of data, but we got some things arranged in the sharing agreement. So in the golden sources are all the sources that are coming from, well, almost input level, like transactions and HR and clients and all those kind of things. So there are those are the golden sources. We address them as the golden sources, and they go one-on-one to our platform, and then we pick it up, or people can pick it up via the marketplace, the data marketplace.
And then you mentioned it like, so your business users, so they go to this data marketplace, they find it, and then how does it work for them? That there's like a connection, or they send an email and they come to you, and then you tell them how to connect to it.
No, because like the silver bullet for graphs is also, there's no silver bullet for these kind of things, because you can imagine that risk is in another kind of data, or finance is another type of data, or there are financial crime departments. Those are different kind of things. So we look at, we not helping that, we only give them some guidelines for approach for that. We have our governance framework for that. So we can say, well, are you a big COE with, let's say, 20 or 30 people? Well, you probably should. We have some guidelines for setting up your department, or perhaps you have only a small group. Well, then you have you have some other requirements. So we help them with setting up, and those, well, things are different. So every COE has its own approach for getting the data from the data marketplace.
Okay.
Depending on a lot of things like the size and the type of data and all those kind of things. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's no like one way of connecting to that data. Makes sense.
No, it's
And in general, all the data is available to it, because you mentioned before talking about data gateways and like, so some data is still sitting on-prem that you connect to it too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
we're still in the shift. So we started a few years ago, and we got a lot of sources, and of course new sources are just coming in every. So that's I think it's a continuous going process, and we have a lot of sources because, well, we had all those things on mainframe and on-prem, really an enormous lot of things. And because as a bank, we got a lot of different product certificates.
Yeah.
savings and mortgages and loans and credit cards and all those kind of things. There's so many different kind of administration. So that's why we have so many sources, and it's a lot of work to well, but to transform them to the data to make them available in the data marketplace is really an enormous job.
Yeah, that makes sense. And actually, so my dad used to work for 25 years at the Rabobank. So
Okay, yeah.
I kind of know how it goes a little bit because, and you probably also still have mainframes running around where a lot of data is stored. And so, because these things just work, like, but getting the data out of it and moving that in different places, there's so many different sources. That's, it's quite interesting.
Yeah, and it's not only the source, but also the applications around it. So a lot of applications were also running on mainframe or perhaps somewhere else. So those, it's not only the data shift, but also the application that provide the data. It's also has to shift. So, and through all those years of putting all those things together and just make it work well, it's a lot of work.
Yeah. He was a COBOL developer.
Oh,
for a long time. Yes.
Yeah, those are the skills that people are not there in the market anymore. So I think a lot of people of your dad's age are very valuable, but they don't want to work.
Well, he wanted to retire, but they gave him a good offer to not retire. Actually,
no, exactly. I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
And he wanted to move to like some modern languages like .NET for a while and things like this, but everyone got pulled back into COBOL world.
Yeah, because they don't. Well, I think not many people learn that language anymore. So, but also Python and you want to do Python scripts and all those kind of things. So that's well,
it makes sense. All right. So okay, so we got the data. You got data contracts and the marketplace. So you have certified data, and so you mentioned it briefly before too. So you have people take that certification. Is that when they get a pro license?
Yeah. We said after the performance went down, we say, well, you need to have a pro license to publish. And you only get a pro license if you are certificate. You can show you can show us your certificate. That's on the DA100 or something before. I don't know exactly that name, but you need to have the certification, the DA100 or the DL300. And if you can show it to us, and you can do an awareness test, because we have also an awareness test to make you aware that it's not only have some, not only the benefits, but you have also some do you call it? Things that you should be aware. So
responsibilities.
We have thanks for that. You have your responsibilities also. So we have an awareness test, but it's not so a big thing. But the DA100 is really a DL300. It's a big base, and then for the certification, and that was something, because we say, well, if you don't have the certificate, you will lose your pro license. It was, I think we've done it within a year. We started, I think, in July. First announcement that in February 21. So in July 2020, we say, well, you need a pro license, and if you have a DA100, you will still have, you can continue working with your pro license. In February, we stop. If you don't have a pro license, you will don't have the ability to share, to publish. And it was very quiet in the beginning. And we had a few people, the early adopters, they started, and it was really great. So, it's going on. And then November came, and December came, and we published a lot, because a lot of people say, well, it was not on the communication, because we saw all those mails coming around. So we knew. But January, people say, oh yeah, I need to do it, but I don't have the time, and it's busy. Year change, all those kind of things. Well, finally, we said to until June, so almost 11 months until June, and then we stopped and said, if you don't have it after June, you have time enough to do it, you don't get your pro license. And even at just just before that, people are coming with us. Can I have a kind of a waiver that I can do it without my certificate because I don't have time? And they say no. Now it's enough. You cannot do it. So we stopped it. I think even in September. Yeah, I think the 15th of September. My colleague and I sent the last mail. 15th of September. So more than a year.
Yeah.
And then it was done, and then now everybody is certified. But it's really great. And it just not say that they are good. And you just write your driver license. You know how to drive a car, but you're not a good driver. But it helps to get people more aware of all those things are in that Power BI world, like what you do if you share and how you model, and if you with the M code and with the DAX code and all the things. They are more aware of all those things that are underneath the Power BI service and that can influence the performance and the quality, of course, of the reports.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so one other question that I have: are you proactive or reactive? You mentioned before that there's all these problems around like performance, and then you were mentioning something like a system that goes out and checks some of the models. So how does that work?
We were reactive, and now we have since a month, but just before the Power BI user day in the Netherlands, we brought live our quality feedback engine. And we built it upon 50 or 60 rules from Microsoft to check your data set on all kind of things to make the performance better. And it checks DAX formulas, your M code, how many visuals do they have, what kind of connections, there are all those things that Microsoft applies. And it will run every month. So we got two kind of runs. One is just a monthly run, so we check everything that's in our tenant. And the other one is that people can do it on their own request. So they go to ServiceNow and filled in their ID of the workspace and they fill the ID of the data set. They they push the start button, and then the process will run. And then within 10-15 minutes, a Power BI report will be sent to them, and then they have an insight on all the improvement that they can do on their report. So and then three kind of the high severe changes, the medium severe changes, and the low severe changes. And it's all about performance, and it is really nice. And you have a lot of people doing it, and they can easily, so they are their own driver's seat to make their the improvements on their report.
Really cool. Really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, we now even go further because we want to make a maturity dashboard. So we want to see how the maturity of our COEs is. So you can see we have a whole program. It's really nice. We started to call it Power BI Superstar program. So with all kind of challenges and all kind of levels of people can do, and if they are participating in our community, and what kind of trainings are they doing, if they use the quality feedback engine, if they use the governance framework. We have something on endorsement. If you want to share data sets, so do you have endorsed data sets, and are you helping others? Do you give presentation? Do you share your knowledge? All those things are there. So that is our Power BI Superstar program, just to encourage it to make people aware of their maturity and in the end help them to grow, of course, in their working with Power BI.
That's pretty cool. Okay, so we talked about the data. So let's talk about probably your favorite topic. Like, you also developed like this framework. What is it called? Chart again? It's your chart?
Yeah, charts. Yes, CHRTS. Yes.
So that really helps people to pick what visuals to use, how to visualize, right?
Yeah. I also give training on data visualization, and it is tool independent. But the frequently asked question is, but what chart do I need to pick? Well, and if you look around, you see all kind of chart choosers, pickers, all those kind of posters and nice tools. But they're mainly, you have a lot of choices, 10 categories with all the charts in it, and I thought it was too difficult. So in the book of Andy Kirk, I have it here. Yes. Here, make some advertisements for him.
Yeah, we'll put the link in the description too.
And Andy came up with the categorized thing of chart of the chart framework. Say, the C is for categorical charts, the H is for hierarchical and part-to-whole charts. The R is for relations, the T is for temporal, and the S is for spatial. And in the categorical, of course, you have the comparing of categories with each other. So client groups or all kind of things you want to compare to each other. And you have, of course, the bar chart and all those kind of things. In the hierarchical and the part-to-whole, you get, of course, part-to-whole, the pie chart and the donut chart, and the decomposition tree of Power BI. In the R is the relation, so the scatter plots and the bubble charts and those kind of things. The T is for the temporal. You got all things over time. So if you have time as a dimension, or line charts and all those kind of things, Gantt charts. And the S is for spatial, so everything on a map. So something you can put on a map, and not just something on a geographical site, but also a building or a human is also a map. So those are the things. And the good thing on the chart is that it's only 5 letters, 5 categories, and it is really, we can explain it easily to our users. So that's what we want to do. Think forward. You say, what do you want to show? I want to compare 2 values. So compare in C, go to the C, and click on it. We had a Power BI report. That was what I showed on the user day. You can click on it, and then you see all kind of examples of comparing categories. Because the bar chart is, of course, the most famous one. It's also a very old one, because in 1785 it was invented by somebody. So it's an old thing, but it's doing a job really great. And that's why we use it. But people say, well, it's a little bit boring, right? So we also show some other types of showing the data, like, for instance, the lollipop chart or a lipstick chart. They're a little bit more modern, and thanks to all those nice and great visualization data artists like Jan Willem Tulp or well, those
Lady.
Nadie Bremer, yes, of course. And that helped us. We show them also, well, if you want to do it, you have a bar chart, but you can also do the lollipop or lipstick. And that helped a lot, because
you probably have a lot of people who've been in, I mean, maybe it's already some time ago, but a lot of people who are used to seeing tables in Excel, right? And
we have them still.
But for them it's a big challenge and a big change too. Like, so how do you approach that? You must be the expert on that, because you will have a lot of them in your organization.
And what we have also in the chart framework, we have a table, and we show a table. You say, okay, you can, if you want to use a table, you can also add some visual support in that. And that is the great thing. One of the greatest features in Power BI the last, 2 months, I think, 3 months. In December, it was announced, available. This spark line in the table. That is really great, because then with the spark line in the table, you can show some more context on a number. Just a number on its own is nothing. You miss context. So with adding that thing to the matrix and to the table, it is really great. So that is one thing, and we show them more, and then you can use conditional formatting. You can show some bars in the table, or perhaps some signals, and that is really great. So you can help them. Okay, you want to use a table, that is good, but there are some things you can make it more visual, attractive, and even things better to see if you want to use that. So that is what I like about that. Yeah, and then of course in the finance world, people love their Excel Power tables, and I think they want to show tables because, I don't say they don't trust the data, but they want to have some things to analyze on themselves, because they know the way of working in Power BI, or in Excel, of course. Sorry, slip of the tongue. They know the way of working in Excel, and the freedom with it, with the formulas, and so I think it's a little bit of knowledge, and to help them, and also to let them show what the possibilities are in Power BI with those visual supporting tools in a table.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so now let's talk about another interesting topic. You touched on it a little bit already, the governance framework. because
Mhm.
being a bank, it's super important, obviously. So how have you tackled that?
But the governance framework is more on how you govern your BI within your department.
Mm.
And like I mentioned, Power BI is not a a skill on its own. You got four skills within Power BI. I think there are four skills, but if you not agree, let me know, because you got your import of your data. So you got your Power Query, and you got the M code and all those kind of things. And that is a job on its own. This is almost ETL in Power BI. Then you got your next skill, that is the modeling part. And modeling is also, I think, a skill on its own, because you can do a lot with that, and a lot can go wrong also with it.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, that's the bridge. You have also DAX. So modeling and DAX is, well, going one on one. And then from DAX, you go to your report and then your visualizations. Visualizing data is, well, it is perhaps preaching for my own church, but visualization is a job on its own. It's a skill on its own.
No, I think you're absolutely right.
and, and also all the options that in Power BI are there to make it visual more attractive, or, well, perhaps you make it unattractive also. And then the last part, the last skill is, of course, the deploying of the reports, right? Sharing it via the service. And I think a lot of people underestimate also those kind of things and all the risks that you can do, that you have if you publish the report, because the data is also coming. So a lot of people don't know that is also going along with it. So we see a lot of reports that share with everyone, and then also the data is available for everyone. So those four skills are set up in a governance framework that you say, okay, we have those four skills, and we can help you work with that, and have great tips and tools, and all kind of policies that we have in the bank are aligned with that. So if you're going to do, you start working with it, you make your own COE. Be aware that those things are there, and let us help you with setting it up, and make it to work with data, also secure.
And is it, so that sounds very, yeah, like you telling them what to do. Is it, this are also something that like reactive, like the policies that you were
Oh,
mentioning?
now we're not telling them what to do. We just help them with setting up their environment,
Mm.
and of course, in our back we support it by all those policies, and all those kind of things. So we say, well, these are the policies of the bank. So what do you want to do, and how? Who are your audience, and what kind of data do you want to share with them? And with that, we say, well, okay, we have also the governance framework is a Power BI tool, so people can click on their own and see, okay, I want to do this. Oh, this policy pops up. Oh, what are the requirements for that policy then? So that's where we help them. But we start, of course, with, okay, what do you want to do? What's the goal? What is your audience? What kind of data do you use, and how do you want to do? How do you want to distribute it, and those kind of things? And then, well, we let them play with the tool, so they can click through it and make their own selections, and then they see things are popping up they, well, perhaps they never thought about, but then you see all those kind of things. So we help them. That's why we call the an enabling block. We enable people to work with Power BI in a right and secure way. That is, and it is more for the bigger team, but also for the smaller teams, because they don't think about stuff
Of
of
course.
sharing.
Yeah.
Because let's say we have a small team with HR. I don't know exactly how many, but this is just an example. And they say, oh, I share a report on sickness or ill leave, sick leave on the site, and then, well, share with anybody, because anybody in those team can see it. Oh, then they should know that they share with anybody within the bank.
Yeah.
Luckily, it's not going outside the bank, because we are a secured environment. You cannot share it outside the bank, but, well, I think how many people do we have in the bank? 20,000, 25,000 people. Well, everybody can see it. Well, that cannot be the case.
Yeah.
No, that's why we help them with that. And of course, we made it up, we set it up, and perhaps it looks a little bit like we say with the big finger. Oh, you should do it like this, but that's not how we want to do it. It's a collaboration, and we try to help them, and enable them to do, and make them aware of all the responsibilities that they have when they set up a team.
Well, I mean, and to me, it's really great because this is really self-serve, you know. but it's not just self-serve, but also you put the responsibilities on the people themselves. I mean, I love it because they're grown-ups, they work in the bank, so they have the responsibilities themselves, instead of IT saying, which we also still see, IT saying, no, we can't trust our employees by doing this. And really, probably that comes from the top too. Like really your leadership team has to share and give these ideas out. So
Yeah. But I work with the data management and architecture department. So in our department, we think of all those things. So we set up all these. I mentioned those three. We call it
mhm.
sagas, but big topics. Like I mentioned, making fit for purpose data and rapid access to authorized data and accelerate the data-driven decisions. Those are coming from the top. We didn't think of that on the lower level. So that is the strategy that we put in because we want to see the value of data and make the good decisions that we can create value of it. So that's coming from the top. But you see that it's adopted and everybody sees it already. That's nice because they accept that is part of the deal. And if you look back when we started Power BI, I think no one saw it. And they were just happy that they have the freedom of Power BI and then do what they, oh yeah, now I can make great data sets and nice reports. I can share it, and it was really fun to do, and everybody was really happy to do it. And, and everybody in the bigger teams and CEOs are seeing now, oh yeah, we share those things. How do we life cycle management of our reports? Yes, well, that is your own responsibility. You build it, you run it, you own
Yeah.
it. So you're, that's one of the things our product owner of the BI and everyone will say, oh, I'm lucky that I am not responsible for all that data, that everybody is responsible for themselves.
Yeah, I like this. Usually, this is the saying from Spider-Man, right? With great power comes great responsibility. That's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and after a few years, people are seeing it now, and they say, "Oh, yeah, life cycle management of a report of a dashboard. I never thought of it." But yeah, that's the fourth part of the skills that we have in Power BI.
yeah.
So, oh yeah, but now I see it. Yes, I know
Yeah,
that's
once
good
you give
to.
your report to the CFO, you better make sure it stayed up to date, right?
Yeah, of course. And also, it changes and the data is up to date and the data quality is good and all those things are coming together with that. Yeah.
All right, cool. That makes sense. All right, so I have a few more questions left. I think one of them you already answered about what's the most exciting feature of Power BI. But let's start with, so do you still do enterprise projects like traditional corporate BI?
No. Yeah, not with Power BI. We do it for of course, for our risk data and the data that has go to the regulators.
Hmm.
That is something else, and it's not in Power BI. But in Power
Yeah,
BI, we don't. No, it's all decentralized, and everybody has a lot of freedom between clouds because yeah, they can do it, but from their own. Yeah.
So, so let's say you are a company, right? A new company. You don't use Power BI today, but you're planning to roll out Power BI to your organization.
Hmm.
And let's say they're a similar size of what the bank is. What
Yeah.
advice would you give them?
Power BI is not Excel. So I mentioned those four skill types within Power BI. Uh, be aware that those skills are underneath the surface of Power BI. I know when we started with Power BI, I had a training, so 1 day training, like the dashboard in 1 day training.
Yeah.
And I did the training. And I can remember that I was in the public transport back home. And wow, this is great! So easy, you can do everything with it. I was so thrilled about it. But then when I took the next step, well, you see that there are 4 steps, and those 4 steps are skill types on their own.
Hmm.
So that is really difficult. It's not just transform an Excel sheet to Power BI and it's working. So you really Power BI is the last 2 letters, to the last 2 letters of the word Power BI is really BI. Business intelligence is a skill, it's a job on its own. So and with 4 type of skills. So if you're a big company, know that these are things happening. And so data engineering is a real job on its own. Data modeling is a job on its own. Data visualization is a job on its own. And of course, maintaining everything that you publish is also a job on its own. And perhaps also a skill on its own. Perhaps one or two people can do it, but recognize those 4 skills in Power BI is very important for us.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And I
It will
think,
be a big rest of
I mean, the cool thing is you guys have set it up in such a way that, like, okay, so the data engineering organization, they make sure that the data is available, and then for the self-service users to connect to the data market and get to it. So, and so what about, so there's no questions that come up these days anymore around governance and trust.
No,
And that's,
no. I have only on old sources, because what you saw, like you mentioned earlier, that people are transforming Excel to Power BI. So if you look at the sources, we see a lot of sources still that are lists or Excel or SharePoint lists or in something in SharePoint, and we want to transform it, of course, to our data marketplace. But the data marketplace is filling up, so we see that the transformation going on, that people transform the data from SharePoint list or Excel to the data marketplace data. So that is where we steer on to see, okay, how many sources do we still have on list, and not everything is available in the data market. Not, I think, never, because you can imagine that you have a list on your own, and you say, oh, I need this, and you can put it in Power BI. And if you say, well, this is a golden source, then you have to transform it back to the beginning, like I mentioned. Then you should make it also available as a golden source, and then you go the path to make it available in the data marketplace. That should be the route. And so that is the thing.
All right, great. So maybe, I think you already answered, but I'm going to give you another. What's the most exciting feature of Power BI in the last year for you?
Yeah, well, like I mentioned, the spark line in the table, I was really thrilled about it. But I'm even more thrilled about the announcement last month, or no, last month, a few months ago, of the integration of PowerPoint with Power BI. And I'm waiting for that. And a lot of colleagues are also waiting for that. So we cannot wait when it's available, because a lot of people are asking me, when is it coming? And I say, yeah, it's March 1st, and now we say the end of May. People are really
excited.
We produce still a lot of PowerPoints, and it would be nice if we have the integration available, because that would be really great to have, because it will help us. It will save us a lot of time of copy and pasting from a screenshot to the PowerPoint.
Yes.
So we cannot wait when it's available. And of course, we need to a challenge for me, because our higher level management, we should make them adopt Power BI via the tablet or something like that, so they can also look at it. But I don't know. Well, perhaps the next layer of management. I don't know. No, but and that is one challenge. We have a lot of consumers. We have a learning part, and the first step is the consuming part. So we build reports, we publish it, and we say to people, well, you can consume it via the website. And a lot of people are afraid of they could break something, and so we have a video channel now, also within the bank, a kind of guy in the cube with a little bit smaller. We call it Into the Spotlight. And we have made some videos on how you can consume your Power BI report. So we made a dummy dashboard, and you hover over it, and you can see there's a tooltip coming, and you can drill through, and you can have filtering, and here just a magic button. That is the reset to default. So if you think you have broken something, you can reset it to default, and everything is back, and you can start again. So there's something that we have made, and we distributed that video to all our users. Say, well, if you want to know more, check this video, and well, perhaps you will be less afraid if you break something. You cannot break something. You just hit the magic button of reset to default. Everything is back.
Awesome, great. Well, I think we talked about a lot of things. We're running out of time, so I really want to thank you for your time. I think it was really, really amazing. As I said before, that's why I wanted to have you here today, because I really think the things that you're doing at the bank, especially at the bank, is really, really cool. I love the decentralized COE idea. I definitely I'll spread the word, see what others think about it, because it's quite interesting. And really thank you for your time. Yeah,
well, and of course I'm talking a lot about it, but it's not just me doing this. I think we have a lot of colleagues working on it, and especially in the BI part. But BI and ABN AMRO is doing a lot of things. We were 10 or 11 people, and if you see how things we are shifting, and like I mentioned earlier, DevOps helped us a lot to set it up like this and make it running like this. And people are happy with it. And of course, always there are things to improve, but well, we love it. Those are the nice challenges, and I think our team is really ready for that.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you, and
Yep.
yeah,
Thanks,
I'll see you
William.
around.
Yeah, it's nice to be on the other side of the microphone, maybe because a little advertisement in the end. I also have a podcast called Data Voorstelling. It sounds Dutch. Yeah, of course, it is also Dutch, but we have also some English guests. And it's really nice to be on the other side of the microphone for once
Yeah,
to do this. So it's really
and
nice.
and we'll
Yeah.
put a link in the description for
Oh,
the
yeah, that's
podcast
nice.
too.
So we have some English guests also, Andy Kirk and Brent Dykes. And then last week we had Stacey Barr from the Pump Method. It's really nice. If you want to work with KPIs, you don't know how to do it, listen to that podcast because she's really a phenomenon on making good KPIs for your dashboard in Power BI.
Great. Thank you.
Yes. Well,
And
thank you.
have a great day.
Talk to you later. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
bye.
Bye-bye.
And that concludes another episode of Kasper On BI. I learned a lot. I think it was really insightful, and actually, yeah, I'm really excited about hearing this story. I hope a lot of you were able to get some tidbits of information on how you can help your clients or your organization to really embracing self-service BI like they did. I will put all the links in the description below, and also. If you like this episode, hit the like button, subscribe. There's more amazing things coming up. Next time we'll do a podcast on data mesh. What is it? How does it work? And how can we help Power BI users with it? So thank you for your time, and I'll see you next time.